Social media. We all know it, most of us use it. There's pros and cons to social media, and some sides of the internet experience more of one than the other. With Tourette's, there's been a lot of both. Hi, my name is Sam, and I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome when I was 10 years old. I've been making YouTube videos about my Tourette since I was 11, and I attended youth ambassador training with the Tourette Association of America several years ago. I have taken a long break from making Tourette content, but I would like to start again. So in today's video, I will be discussing the effects I've noticed of social media on Tourette syndrome and tic disorders. Some of these will be positives, while others will be negatives. Overall, I aim to educate others on areas of the Tourette community that might not be as obvious but are still very relevant. One of the biggest downfalls of being disabled on the internet is the enormous amount of uneducated know-it-alls who decide that your experiences don't fit into their ideas of your disability. So they comment or even make videos or even make posts on Reddit saying that you're faking your disability and then get a bunch of people to agree with them. And it's so... With Tourette's, this happens in almost any video a creator makes because Tourette's is so misunderstood. I have seen people who have literally proven their diagnoses still get posted on fake disorder cringe because it just isn't, it's just fake. It's just fake. And I'm like, they have posted pictures, medical proof of their diagnoses. It's 2025. Why can't people get the memo? Tourette's is not a universal experience. In fact, I believe it is one of the least universal experiences, in my opinion, with the vast amount of tics that there are. Like, there's so many different tics that it's so hard to meet someone who has these same exact tics as you. However, one of the positives is that social media has led to a growth in the Tourette's community. People who may have never met another person with Tourette syndrome before can now simply search up Tourette's videos, and there are thousands of people sharing their stories online about living with Tourette syndrome. The expansion of the Tourette's community has led to more people feeling less alone and more knowledgeable about their disorder. I have met some of my best friends through my awareness journey, through Tourette's camp, and I continue to connect with people with Tourette's through social media. I find that online platforms can really bring people together at faster rates than periods before the internet. Sadly, social media also heightens the spread of misinformation. One of my least favorite myths about tic disorder is the term anxiety tics. This is a blanket term for people with anxiety who have tics more often than not when they're anxious. The reality is that in mild tic disorders, one's tics might not be very prevalent until they experience a trigger such as anxiety. As far as I'm aware, anxiety comes from a different part of the brain than tics do, so they can trigger one another, but anxiety does not in itself cause tics. In addition, because people are misinformed, they can freely comment on videos, and they can comment their myths, and people may choose to believe them. A lot of Tourette's creators with milder tics can get comments like, oh, well, there's no cursing, so that can't be true, from people who think that cursing is what Tourette's is. But then creators with severe tics will get, well, there's too much cursing, and that couldn't be real because only so many people have cursing tics. Or people will think that tics are too situational to be tics, when tics can be very situational. The matter of whether they're functional or organic is a whole deal that people are trying to figure out, but the point is they're tics still, and they can be situational. Tourette syndrome is a vast spectrum, and only about 10 to 20% of people with Tourette's experience coprolalia, copropraxia, which are inappropriate vocal or motor tics. However, if you think of it from a different perspective, 10 to 20% of a disorder that 1 in 50 children are estimated to have, well, Tourette's or a tic disorder, like, that's still a lot. That's like possibly 1/5 or 1/10, which could be 5 out of those 50 kids or 10 out of those 50 kids. That's a lot. Social media has allowed widespread awareness to occur. Creators such as Evie Meg, Zara Beth, and Balin Dupree have amassed large followings to which they use to spread awareness and educate others on Tourette syndrome and other disorders that they may have. Organizations such as the Tourette Association of America and Tourette's Action have been able to reach wider audiences in their campaigns and their fundraising efforts. And people can now see a wide variety of videos showcasing the true reality of living with Tourette syndrome. One other negative that this affected a lot of people was TikTok tics. So during COVID, a lot of people developed tics, and a lot of people posted about it on the internet because everyone's on the internet and everyone was posting. And due to this phenomena of an extreme increase in tics, the term TikTok tics was born. Doctors didn't understand it. Doctors didn't know what was going on. Doctors didn't put their reasonable thought into it. And doctors were using this term to dismiss patients and spread misinformation. People who may have previously had tics that were more mild, but eventually were worsened by the stress of COVID or even watching people with tics, because watching people with tics can be a trigger for tics, had a harder time getting a diagnosis and being taken seriously when they went to the doctor. People who had a sudden onset of tics were not taken seriously because doctors assumed they were faking or it was all in their head. Some of those cases of the sudden onset of tics definitely turned out to be cases of functional tics, but functional tics are still completely valid and need to be studied because the area of functional neurological disorder in itself, like the knowledge surrounding it, has changed dramatically in the past 10, 20 years. I've noticed that in the Tourette's community, and even during events with the Tourette Association of America and organizations such as that, people with more severe tics tend to be ostracized from people with milder tics. It feels as though some people are ashamed to be associated with the more dangerous and offensive side Tourette's because they've worked so hard to establish that not all people with Tourette's are like that, and they're not like that. I also find that even in Tourette's communities, people tend to differentiate us as the good type of Tourette's and the bad type of Tourette's. I truly believe that this is rooted in moral superiority complexes and also the idea that Tourette's is mostly little noises and movements. People forget that just because not everyone has Tourette's and not everyone with Tourette's has People forget that just because not everyone with Tourette's has severe tics, it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people out there who do have severe tics. Because there are. I go to Tourette's camp every summer, and I can tell you that a good 75% of the people there have moderate to severe tics. A good amount of people there. And that might be because a lot of us feel like we need more community because it's just more difficult and harder to manage. But there are a lot of us there with moderate to severe tics. A lot. With that being said, social media has had its benefits and downfalls regarding Tourette's, just as it had with every community ever. However, I do think there is a lot we can do to improve online Tourette spaces and make them more welcoming to everyone. Thank you all for watching, and please subscribe, like, and share to support me in my little YouTube channel. Bye!